Let's say you want to mount a hardcase battery onto a bike for an electric bike conversion. Now, most of the time you can't just put a hole right through there and expect that's going to work. You need it to be threaded. And the existing threaded holes on the bike may or may not work for your situation. So what you would use for this is what's known as rivnuts. This is a rivnut. It's partially a rivet and partially a nut. It's threaded on the inside, and when you use a special tool, this end flares out and holds it into place. Now there's a few different kinds of these tools. I think the best one for our uses where you've got a small space in a bike triangle is going to be this small handheld rivet nut tool. It's sold by rivnuttool.com, but you can get it a few different places. So before we do this live, I'm just going to show you how this works so you can see it fully out of something. Now we've got the rivnut stuck on here. It's probably going to come out of the box like this, so we'll go ahead and just set it up first. And that means unscrewing this a good deal. And now this moves, right? So let's pull this out pretty far, and we'll go ahead and just tighten this up. And once this is tightened up, this part actually won't want to move around anymore. And at that point, we can start actually using it. Okay, so now this won't move, right? And this is pretty much good to go as well. So I'm gonna grab this here and just show you so you can see it nice and easily what happens to this rivnut. And that's what happens. But what you want is a drill bit that is wider than the diameter of the rivet. And you know, this is a 5mm rivnut. You're not going to use a 5mm drill bit because that's the diameter of the threads on the inside. So for something like this, I'm using a 7mm drill bit. I'm not really sure what that is in inches, but you know, you get 7mm and it'll work. So let's give this a shot. One thing to keep in mind is you want this as flat as possible. You don't want this at an angle. If you put this at an angle, then the bolt is going to be at an angle too. So it's very important, especially on something like a bike where you can't really re-drill it out again, you know, at least not in the same spot, at least not without weakening the frame. So it's really critical that you make sure that you have it properly angled. You might consider, if you need to, there's 90-degree angle attachments you can use for your drill bit, and then you can get kind of a better angle at it. So we're gonna go ahead and just do this as good as we can and just show you how it works. So let's see if this fits in here. And it does not. Well, yeah, it'll fit. It's not fitting fully flush, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pull it out and make it a little more flush. Now that's a good deal more flush, but as you can see, it's kind of this little bit on the end here is not, it's kind of stuck up a little bit, right? Now Obviously on something like this, that's not gonna matter. If this was on a bike or something like that, you might consider taking a Dremel, kind of going over that a little bit, evening it out so it's nice and flat. All right, so let's give this a shot. We're gonna set this down into here. We're just gonna hold it into place, hopefully as best as we can. The more flush we can get this on the metal, the better. At that point, we are going to go ahead and pull it out. I can already tell this was messed up. So we're gonna go ahead and redo this. That's on there and it's not going anywhere. But the question is, what went wrong? Well, if you look at it, you can see on the side that this is not flush. Now, on a piece of metal like this, that's not really a problem. But on a bike, or really anything where you can't make mistakes, that would be a serious issue. So, let's go ahead and give it a shot again, and we'll see what we can do. It's a good deal flatter than it was. That's a good start. Put this in nice and flat. And make sure that this is held in really nicely flush. See how that wants to pull? Let's go ahead and hold that a little better than we did last time. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and see what we can see, huh? Alright, and what do we have here? It is a perfectly flush rivnut. And that's exactly what you want. I'm going to show you the other side. You can see even on the other side where it is sticking right up, it's exactly straight. Here's the one where it was a little messed up, and you can see how it went at an angle. That's not what you want. This is what you do want. This is the difference between something where you're not being careful and something where you are being careful. So definitely be careful, because on a bike frame, you can't make mistakes like that. On something like this, you definitely can. So, you know, a really good idea is actually to do something like this where you're actually practicing so you know what you're doing beforehand.